So today we are going to start with this topic, foreign investment. Okay, so in foreign investment, I'm going to cover FDI. So in this session, I'll be dealing with FDI, and then we will see PFI, portfolio investment, and FII related concepts and everything. Okay, so in FDI, we will cover everything related to FDI. We'll talk about the different FDI ceilings. Okay, so you might have heard this 26%, 51%, 49%, 76%, and all those things will be covered. What do you understand by these ceilings? We will talk about the components of FDI. We'll talk about sources of FDI. Okay, we will also discuss about Arvind Mayuram committee recommendation related to FDI. Okay, then we'll move on to FDI in e-commerce. We'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of FDI in e-commerce. Okay, then we'll see FDI in retail. We'll talk about single brand retail, multi-brand retail, and everything. And then we will move on to PFIs, where I'll talk about Euro issues like American Depository Receipt, Global Depository Receipt, Indian Depository Receipts, everything will be covered. And after that, in this module, we'll also covering this foreign trade policy. Okay, so foreign trade policy will be covered maybe in the third session. Okay, so the first session is about FDI. Then I'll talk about FIIs and Euro issues. And then we'll talk about foreign trade. And in that, I'll cover foreign trade policy and everything. Then we'll also discuss about SEZs, okay, special economic zones. So with that, we'll complete this module. Maybe 3 sessions I'll take, okay. So let's start with foreign investment. So foreign investment, basically this is FDI, and on this side we will talk about PFI. Okay, so FDI we will start with today. So what do you mean by okay, we have portfolio investment here. The definition, we'll just look into the definition and we'll discuss about this in detail in the next session. So portfolio investment is an investment under which an investor purchases securities from foreign financial markets. Okay, so any investor purchases securities from the foreign financial market. So some foreigners are purchasing from Indian financial market. That is what PFI. Now such investors do not have any management or voting rights. Now the speciality is, if you are purchasing the shares, you're actually the owner of the company, and to the extent of ownership you have that voting rights and ownership rights also. But that is not the case with foreigners. Okay, so if foreigners are purchasing, they don't have this voting rights, they don't have the management rights. Okay, so they basically maintain a secret relation or an anonymous relation with the company. They don't have a direct relation with the company. Okay, so we'll discuss this in detail in the next session. Let's move on to FDI. That is our topic of discussion today. Okay, now you can see here foreign direct investment. It is an investment through which an investor establishes or acquires a business entity in a foreign country along with its management control. So basic differences between FDI and FIIs is management control. In the previous case, I've told you there is no management control, there is no voting rights, but in this case they have the management control. Okay, now you can see here, this is IMF definition. Okay, IMF definition of FDI. It is an investment through which an investor acquires, the spelling mistakes is there, acquires lasting and substantial management control. This is a key word here, management control. Management control means, that is also specified here, at least 10% of equity or voting rights in the foreign affiliate. So in a foreign company, 10% of voting rights or equity you have. Okay, and you have a management control. Okay, so the difference between FDI and FIIs is basically related to management control. So here there is a direct relation, whereas in FDI there is FII, there is an indirect relation, there is an anonymous relation. Okay, so here direct relation. Now you might have heard this different ceilings. Okay, so let's quickly look into that ceilings. You have seen this 26%, okay, 49%, okay, then 51%, 74% and 100%. So these are the different ceilings. Now I'll explain these ceilings, but before that, you understand, if you need to have a management control, if you have 51% of the share, you have a management control. Okay, so for management control you need to have 51% of the shareholding, and if you have the 76%, you can take major decisions. Okay, so for major decisions you need 76% of the shareholding. Okay, now let's take the first case. You have 26%. Okay, so FDI is allowed till 26%, means 26% of the shareholding is by the foreigners. Okay, now here 74 with the Indians. So you can see here the management control is with Indians. Okay, so management with Indians, but for major decisions, okay, because you have 26% means you have only 74 left out, right? Okay, so 74 you can't take major decisions. So if you need to take major decisions, you need the support of the foreigner. Okay, that means the other company who's investing. Okay, so for major decision you have to depend on the foreigner. So major decision we need foreigners. Okay, for example, you can see news media, defense, etc. Okay, now what about 49%? 49% also the same. The management control is with Indians, because 49% if you are allowing means 51 is with the Indians. So management control you need 51%. So management is with Indians, but for major decisions you need the support of the foreigner. Now what about the third ceiling? If it is 51%, if you are allowing 51% means you are basically giving the management control to them. So if 51% is the foreign investment, if the is the FDI, means they have the management control, but for major decisions they need the support of Indians. Okay, so management control with foreigner, and for major decisions you need the support of Indians. Okay, now what about 76%? Okay, 74%. So 74% also the same. If you're allowing up to 74%, what does that mean? The management control is with the foreigner. Okay, so management again exactly same, similar to this one. Management control is with the foreigner, but they have only 74%. You need 76%, right, for the major decisions. So here also, if major decisions has to be taken, you need the support of the Indians. Okay, so that is the case of 74%. Now if you are allowing 100%, then in this case complete control is with them. They have the management control and they have the power for taking all the major decisions, all the decisions in fact. Okay, so this is what you mean by different ceilings. So once you understood this, then there is no problem in understanding all those concepts related to different ceilings. Why this much ceiling is for a particular sector, why 51% or 49% is given, why this much in single brand retail, while 100% in some other case. Okay, all these things will be understood in a clear way if you understood this part. Okay, this is the most important part of this discussion. Now in public sector bank it is 20%. Okay, so FDI in public sector bank which is allowed is 20%. The reason we have already discussed when we discussed about Basel norms, so I'm not getting into that now. We have already discussed this particular point in the Basel norms. Okay, next we will look into this Arvind Mayram committee. Okay, so basically this committee was established to rationalize definition of FDI and PFI, and they have given the report in 2014. Okay, so they have given the report in 2014, and he suggested FDI should include these two. Okay, foreign equity investment of 10% or more in listed companies. And if you remember, this is what exactly we have seen in the case of IMF definition. You can see here, so at least 10% of equity. Okay, so exactly the same thing is what discussed here. Foreign equity investment of 10% or more in listed companies. Listed companies means if it is listed in the share market. Okay, now any amount of investment in unlisted companies. Okay, this is unlisted companies. So 10% or more in listed companies, any amount in unlisted companies. So this is what the recommendation of Arvind Mayram committee related to FDI. Now let's look into the components of FDI. What are the components of FDI? So firstly, you have foreign equity investment. Okay, so foreign equity investment, that is the actual investment. Then you have this retained income of foreign companies. What do you mean by retained income? Retained income is actually the undistributed profit. Let's suppose you have, let's say 10 lakh as the income or the output. Okay, so out of this you have to pay some tax, corporate income tax. Let's say you are paying 2 lakhs as a tax. Okay, and let's say 8 lakhs is left out of which 5 lakh is the undistributed profit. Means you are taking or you are dividing this 3 lakhs profit into the shareholders. So 3 lakhs profit has been taken and the balance 5 lakhs is reinvested in the company. That is what you mean by undistributed profit. This is not distributed. Okay, this 3 lakhs will be distributed as dividends, and that's what you mean by dividend. This 3 lakhs will be divided among the shareholders. Now next is intra-company debt transfer. Okay, now what do you mean by intra-company debt transfer? It is just like the parent companies are giving loans to its subsidiary company. Okay, so that is what you mean by intra-company debt transfer. Next is source of FDI. Okay, or MNC, multinational corporations. So these are the sources: through branches. Okay, then subsidiaries. Subsidiaries means the parent company may be producing X, okay, subsidiary can produce Y also. It is not necessary that the same item should be produced by the subsidiary company, okay. You can produce whatever it is, okay. One company X may be producing automobile related products and company Y may be producing food related products, okay. So that is possible in case of subsidiaries. So the scope of subsidiaries are actually very huge, okay. And then third is joint venture. This is a partnership. It is a joint venture between two firms, okay. So one is a foreign company, one may be the Indian company like Tata, AIG, okay, like that. Now what do you mean by MNC or transnational corporations? These are companies which undertake business operations in 2 or more countries. That is what I mean by MNCs, okay. Now there was a famous study by World Bank, okay, out of 100 largest economies, 100 largest economies. Now out of this, actually 51 were companies and 49 were countries. So basically what I mean to tell you is the turnover of the companies are more than the GDP of the country, okay. So 51 companies were listed in the 100 largest economies if you see, okay, and 49 countries were there. So this 51 companies is having more turnover than many of the countries, okay, countries GDP. Now let's quickly look into the advantages of FDI or MNCs, okay. So you can see here, it supplements domestic capital formation, which increase national income, output, employment, etc. in the host countries. So the capital formation, that means infrastructure development, all this will be there. So that actually contribute towards increase in national income. National income we have discussed in the previous chapter. NNP at factor cost is a national income, net national product, okay. So that will be improved if there is a better capital formation or infrastructure development, okay. Output will be more, employment generation will be more, okay, and host country will get a lot of advantage. That is the most important advantage. They bring modern technology, managerial and entrepreneurial skills, marketing strategies along with the foreign capital. These are some common advantages. They promote competition by suppressing domestic monopolies, okay. So there won't be much domestic monopolies if they are coming, so that monopolies will be ended and there will be competition. When the competition is there with the more products, the fittest will survive. Automatically the prices will come down, the consumers will benefit. It compels domestic firms to improve efficiency. I told you already, the fittest will survive, okay. So domestic firms have to improve their efficiency. There is no other way, otherwise you can't survive. Next is they provide a variety of quality products to consumers at competitive prices. It enhances standard of living of the people. General point, okay. Next point, they promote industrial diversification, okay. So different products will come, okay. Investment in different areas will come, so that lead to diversification. They promote infrastructure development in host countries by directly investing in infrastructure project as well as by creating demand for such services. Already discussed this point. They provide significant tax revenue to the host governments, obviously. They tend to reduce factor price differentials across the nation. That is, they tend to increase wage rates and decrease interest rates in developing countries and vice versa. Okay, so how they are increasing wage rates? Because when investments are coming, the employment opportunities will be more, so the demand for employees will be more, so they will be getting better wages and their standard of living improve. Okay, now secondly, interest rates, how is it reducing? It's like this. See, when they are coming up with more funds, okay, so that fund is coming here, so automatically the interest will be reduced here. Interest rate will be reduced here. They are taking at a lower interest from the other country, the source country, and in the destination country they are investing, means automatically the interest will come down. Okay, so more the money, so the interest will come down actually. And the opposite will happen there. Over a period of time, there the interest will increase. Okay, that's why you have written vice versa. So I hope you understood this point. They borrow from abroad and in their country, from a country, and they invest here, so the interest rate will come down. Now we'll look into the disadvantages of FDI. Okay, they are adversely affecting the domestic companies, especially MSMEs. Okay, that is one of the most important disadvantage. The local industries, the small industries, the MSMEs cannot survive. See, if you have some idea about history, Charter Act of 1813. Okay, so Charter Act of 1813. The first point of Charter Act of 1813 that we are discussing, in fact, that was asked in the previous prelims also. Okay, what was that? end of monopoly of East India Company except in two items. That two items were trade in tea products and trade with China. Okay, now when you discuss about the problems or consequences of Charter Act of 1813, the most important impact that you actually need to discuss is actually that led to deindustrialization in India. Why? Because a lot of foreign products started coming, and it was not competitive with the Indian products. The local Indians, the artisans, mostly it is handmade products, but the products which is coming are coming out from the industries, okay, from the machines, and they are finished products which are very cheap also. Okay, here the products are not that finished, and it is not competitive with in terms of price also. So the Indian artisans, they couldn't survive. The products which is created by the Indian artisans could not survive in the market, and that led to complete deindustrialization in India. The life of artisans is completely ruined, and that is one of the reason why they have participated in 1857 revolt. So if you see in 1857 revolt, different people are participating for different reasons. Artisans are participating for this particular reason. Okay, for the peasants were participating because the high rate of taxation, whether it is Mahalwari system, Rotwari system, or permanent settlement, whatever it is, the taxation was very high. Okay, Muslims were participating because in 1837 there was a very significant change which happened with respect to education. That is, Persian was replaced with English as the official language, so most of the Muslims lost their jobs. So Muslims are participating. All these Maulvis, Maulanas, etc. were participating because of that particular reason. And then the rulers were participating for different reasons. They have lost their kingdom, so they are participating, and middle class remained neutral. So different people were participating for different reasons. Okay, what would have happened if they won the revolt was a hypothetical question. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, so here we are actually discussing about these FDIs are going to affect the small scale industries in India. Now, when we talked about Charter Act of 1813, I told you already the most important impact of 1813 Charter Act is actually it led to deindustrialization in India, because there was no further scope of development of industries. Exactly the same thing will happen if more and more FDI is coming in all the areas. The local industries could not survive. Okay, that is one of the most important disadvantage when we talk about MSMEs. Other disadvantages I have written in general only. All these are applicable in private sector also. Okay, let's look into the others. They create possibility of political intervention in domestic economic policies. Obviously, some books you will see they threaten the sovereignty of the country. Okay, but that is not applicable these days. When it comes to East India Company, that you can say, right? Before they came for trading, and they threatened the sovereignty of the country. Okay, that is not applicable during these times. Okay, so we don't want to discuss about that. They aggravate or worsen income and regional inequality. Why? Because they actually invest in developed areas mostly, so that will create regional inequality. They induce dualism in developing countries. Dualism means, see, there is sharp difference between traditional and modern sector. So when the foreign investment is coming, they are not going to invest in agriculture or in any traditional sector. Okay, so they are only going to invest in the modern sector. So the difference already in developing economy, one of the most important feature is actually dualism. There is a sharp difference between the traditional and modern sector. So that is going to be aggravated because of FDI. Okay, they repatriate huge forex in various forms like high dividends, interest, royalties, etc. So huge forex will be taken back in the form of the dividends, interest, okay, royalties, subsidies, and all these money will be taken off, and significant forex will be lost with time. Okay, now, but most important point is, you'll understand this more in detail when we discuss about the balance of payment. Okay, see, when the interest are paid, okay, if it is going back, it is going back from current account. So what will happen is actually the outflow from current account will be increased, and that lead to increase in current account deficit. Okay, so that we will be discussing when we discuss about balance of payment. You just need to wait for some time. I'll cover everything, okay, in detail. Now you can see another point. These are common points. They indulge in various malpractices like transfer pricing, okay, base erosion and base shifting, etc. They induce consumerism by indulging in excessive advertisements and superficial product differentiation. It affects savings and capital formation. These are general points. Okay, So these are the disadvantages. Now let's look into the FDI policy or policy towards MNCs. I'm just listing down some of the important policies. Okay, I have to discuss this in detail. We'll be discussing this in detail. In fact, I have covered this, but I don't know whether the video is uploaded or not. You will be getting it. Okay, New Industrial Policy 1991, talking about sealing, delicensing, okay, FIPB and all this. Okay, then FERA. FERA is actually Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, that was changed to Foreign Exchange Management Act, okay, in 1999. See, under FERA, so if you see FERA and FEMA, FERA and FEMA, FERA is actually a criminal law, okay. It involves imprisonment also if you violate, okay, and then monetary penalty of 5 times penalty along with imprisonment. So it was actually a criminal law. In FEMA it became civil law, okay. So you have only penalty, monetary penalty, and monetary penalty up to 3 times, okay. So there was some liberalization you can see here, okay. Now who will investigate the cases under this? It will be investigated by Enforcement Directorate, okay. They have the power to arrest, seal, seize and everything, okay. So they can interrogate, they can remand, all these powers are with ID, okay. Then introduction of partial current account convertibility. Current account convertibility and all this have to be discussed in detail later, but just now understand under policy, because I have to complete this in 30 minutes, so that restriction is there. So I'll be talking about this in detail in some other video. Introduction of partial current account convertibility. Liberalization of exchange rates, okay. So you already know that from 1993 onwards we have a managed float, okay. So floating but managed float, RBI can interfere in case if there is a problem in the currency, okay. Next point, this is again very important from prelims point of view. Press Note 18 was abolished in 2015. What is Press Note 18? See, actually under this the foreign investor need no objection certificate, need NOC from the domestic joint venture partner for undertaking any other business in the same or other field in India. So if a company X is in joint venture with a company Y in India, so this is an Indian company, this is a foreign affiliate, okay. So this X, if they want to involve in any other business in India, they need a no objection certificate from the company Y. Whether, see, this X might be in joint venture with Y in automobile, but if they want to enter in some other products, maybe food products, still they need the permission from Y, and that was not desirable, okay. So that Press Note 18 was abolished in 2015. It can be a prelims question, what do you mean by Press Note 18, okay. Then you have Make in India. So under this you can talk all those ease of doing business, ease of doing business, labor reforms, skill development, okay. New IPR policy 2016, okay. So actually we are discussing everything in separately in different modules. So just under this different policies I have just mentioned these, okay. So I hope you understood. Okay, let's move forward. Let's move on to FDI in e-commerce. So how this trading is actually happening? There will be a distributor, okay. It will go to wholesaler, and there will be a retailer, okay. Now in e-commerce, so there are 2 ways that we need to discuss, 2 types. One is actually wholesale, okay. So that is your B2B, okay. So what is the FDI ceiling here? I'll be writing here FDI ceiling. FDI ceiling here is 100%. That means 100% FDI is allowed. Examples: Walmart, Alibaba, etc. Okay, so these are wholesale. Then what about retail? Okay, this is B2C customer, okay. What about FDI ceiling here? Now here there are again 2 types, okay. Retail, there are 2 types. I'll be discussing about this in detail here. A is marketplace model. So here 100% is allowed. This is what your Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, etc. Okay, so Amazon, etc. Second is inventory model. See, what is the difference between marketplace model and inventory model? In marketplace model, as you know from this example itself, they are just providing an electronic platform so that the actual manufacturer can sell it to the customer. In inventory model, what they will do is they will buy, they will store it, and they will sell it. Okay, you can see here, marketplace model, under this an e-commerce company provides an electronic platform to manufacturers or traders to sell their products to the consumer. So this is done directly by the manufacturer to the consumer. Whereas in inventory model, under this an e-commerce company purchases goods from the manufacturers and maintaining the stock or inventory and sell them to consumer. Okay, so these two are different. In the first case, you are actually giving electronic platform only. In the second case, it is almost like, you know, retail. You are purchasing and you are selling. Okay, so you can see here, this in inventory model, FDI is not allowed. Okay, FDI is not allowed. Here 100% allowed. So that's why Amazon 100%, and here 100% allowed. Wholesale 100% allowed for Walmart, Alibaba, etc. So marketplace model 100% allowed. Inventory model not allowed. Okay. Now, why in wholesale there is not much problem in giving 100%, because wholesale is not much labor intensive, right? So it is not going to affect the unemployment situation in a country. Even if you are giving it to a foreign affiliate 100%, it is not much labor intensive. So even if they're coming up with technologies, it is not going to affect the unemployment situation in the country. But if you give it in retail is basically and mostly employment related or labor intensive. Okay, so there may be a problem which is going to happen with employment situation of the countries. That's why you are a bit more careful when you are dealing with retail. Okay, so we'll discuss about single brand retail, multi-brand retail, and all those things after some time in 5 minutes. Let's quickly look into advantages of e-commerce, FDI and e-commerce. Okay, the first advantage is actually effective management of supply chain. That is the most important problem that we are always discussing when we discuss about the infrastructural setup. Okay, so effective management of supply chain. Under this, you can talk about all this point: reduce middlemen. Okay, decrease inventory, because there is a proper scientific management. Okay, so decrease inventory. Okay, scientific logistic management. Okay, decrease labor cost. Okay, so these are some advantages. Then next one, infrastructure development. Okay, then you can talk about increased outreach. See, before a manufacturer can sell the products maybe at one location, now he can sell across India. Even the consumer is also getting a lot of choices. Okay, so increased outreach. Then you can see the same point, increased outreach of MSMEs and artisans from their immediate locations. Otherwise, they can sell only in the neighboring areas, but now they can sell anywhere in India, right? Increase revenue of manufacturing firms, right? See, the more you can sell, the more production will be there. You can use economies of scale. Okay, so your revenue will automatically increase. Let's look into the disadvantages of FDI and e-commerce. Obviously, adverse impact on local stores. Okay, adverse impact on local stores. That's this fruit and vegetable vendors, etc. Okay, then you can see unemployment increase because they come up with modern technologies. Okay, then traders profit margin decrease. These are general disadvantages that we are discussing. Then you can see predatory pricing. Mostly applicable in inventory model, but we are not allowing that. But in marketplace model also, you can see when the big billion days, those kind of sales are coming, you can see this predatory pricing. Okay, but whatever it is, ultimately manufacturers will get a lot of benefit in marketplace model. Even the consumer is also getting benefit. So whatever disadvantage is there, it will automatically overcome because the manufacturer and the consumer is actually getting benefit out of marketplace model. Now we need to see some government guidelines for FDI in marketplace model. Okay, so you can see here the first one: e-commerce marketplace companies can provide electronic platform to manufacturers and traders. So you only provide electronic platform. Guarantees, warranties, and after sale services should be provided by the seller and not marketplace companies. So if you are buying something from Amazon, if it is a Samsung product, the Samsung, that company have to provide guarantee, warranty, and everything, and not Amazon. Okay. Marketplace companies can provide support service to sellers such as logistic, warehousing, or order fulfillment, payment collection, call centers, etc. These are common points. No company or seller can contribute more than 25% of the total sale of a marketplace website. That is very important point. Okay, so actually no company, let's suppose iPhone or Apple, they cannot contribute more than 25% of one marketplace model. That means Amazon, or if you take Amazon, 25% should not come from one particular company, or more than that should never be allowed. Okay, then marketplace company cannot directly or indirectly influence market price of products. Okay, but this is mostly violated when it comes to big billion days and all, and for that government have sent a notice to Amazon and Flipkart and etc. Those things will have to be discussed later as part of current affairs. Okay, which was in fact actually covered in the one of the video also. Okay, so I hope you understood. If you need to, so see, what is the advantage of this provision? If you need to put more and more products of Apple, it should not cross 25% of the total. So what you need to do, if you need to increase this in number, in volume, in trade, okay, what you need to do, you have to increase the others also. Okay, so otherwise it will be more than 25%, and which is not allowed. So I hope you understood. If you need to have more of this product, what you need to do, you have to have a lot of other products also. So that is actually giving a lot of scope for the local industries and artisans. Now let's look into FDI in retail. So we will see FDI and the companies. So single brand retail, 100%. Okay, so there are many companies. Okay, so all those single brand retail is allowed up to 100%. So only one product will be there. What about multi-brand? 51%. Okay, Tesco, etc. Okay, by Tata. Cash and carry trade. Cash and carry trade, that is 100%. This Walmart, Metro, etc. Okay, so this is actually a wholesale. See, this cash and carry trade is actually, this is a special type of trade where the commodities are sold to the retailers in cash. Okay, now as an individual you cannot go and buy from here. Only a retailer can go. So they should have a identification number. So with that they will go to Walmart and they can pay there. You can get it. So it's a kind of wholesale. Technically it is wholesale, but in practice it is actually retail. It is actually retail for the retailers. Okay, they are getting it from there, and the transportation cost and everything has to be done by the retailers only. So they go with money, they get products, and they take that, they transport it, they bring it to their place, and they can sell it to the consumers. Okay, so that is what cash and carry trade. Now, what are the advantages of FDI in multi-brand retail? Advantages of FDI multi-brand retail. Okay, firstly you have better infrastructure, cold storage, warehousing, all those facilities will be better. Then you can say the supply chain, again the same point that we have discussed when we discussed about e-commerce. Okay, so scientific management, wastage will be less, middleman will be less, the benefits will be more. Okay, then you can see a decrease in prices because of competition, and you can see farmers will get better prices. Also they can go for contract farming. Okay, they can go for contract farming. So these are advantages. What about disadvantages? The disadvantages that we discussed in case of FDI and e-commerce, exactly the same thing will come here. Mostly local vendors and local stores will suffer. Okay, but compared to e-commerce, FDI and e-commerce and FDI and multi-brand retail, which one is better? That is a question. See, better one is, in my opinion, it is FDI and multi-brand retail is better, because in India's context, what we lack is infrastructure. Okay, so supply chain, effective management, scientific management, logistic and warehousing, cold storage, everything is missing. So FDI and multi-brand retail can bring all this. Okay, and in fact, if you look into the disadvantages of both are same, FDI and multi-brand retail as well as FDI and e-commerce. The disadvantages, if you look into, both are same, but the advantages will be more in case of FDI in multi-brand retail. Moreover, if you look into FDI in e-commerce. Actually, in e-commerce, whoever wants, they can buy. There is no identity. Okay, so there are a lot of problems which also can be associated with FDI and e-commerce. There are a lot of anonymous things are involved in that. Okay, so FDI in multi-brand retail would have been much better. Allowing FDI in multi-brand retail would be better if you're considering the scope of it, okay, because of effective supply chain management, scientific management, logistics, and all this facilities infrastructure and all this, especially in the context of India. Let's look into the sources of FDI that you have to update. Okay, which countries, okay, what is the contribution of Mauritius, Singapore, all those things you have to update. In which sectors also you have to update. Okay, which sector it is more, from which countries it is more. Okay,